Writers, agents, and publishers, for the first time since the Gutenberg Press, find themselves lost in a maze of mystery as technology alters the shape of the publishing industry. Searching for Answers is a group of writers throwing pop culture, writing, and publishing into a crucible of clarity, passion, and humor. This group is the Write Pack. Welcome back to Write Pack Radio. This is your host, David Allen Lucas, president of St. Louis Writers Guild, author of Crime and Mystery, and a new blog that, well, might be out by the time that this episode shows, which is exploring the future of humanity, civilization, crime, and criminal investigation.
Why don't you think big?
I wanted to say small.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, trust me. I wrote the first blog episode, first one I'm calling episode, and I have opened up a huge can of worms, which is why the first one's not going to show up until March, because I need to write a bunch to get ahead. And with me today is
Lee Savage, and I'm decided that I'm now going to just go by, I write stuff that's wicked.
Okay.
And naughty.
Paranormal, yeah.
Wicked and naughty.
Even children's books, right, Liz?
No, under the name Carrie Lee Williams, there's my innocent stuff.
Your alter ego.
My alter ego.
Your nice doppelganger. I'm Fedora Amos. I write Victorian whodunits like Jack the Ripper in St. Louis. And coming very soon, perhaps even today, well, no, it'd be on a Wednesday, that Mayhem at Buffalo Bill's Wild West will be coming out from 5 Stars Engage.
Actually, I think by the time this episode airs, and by the way, those of you who are brand new to listening to this, we usually record about 2 weeks ahead. And I think by then, yours is out. If I remember the constant date you
got. It's the 17th of February of 2016.
There you go. If it's not February 17th close-ish yet, it will be out very shortly.
Okay, cool.
Watch for it.
One more thing. I'm vice president of Greater St. Louis Sisters in Crime.
And that's not a bunch of nuns.
We love mystery.
They love mysteries, and they're not little nuns running around killing people with rulers. Okay.
I'm Melanie Quaney, and today I am feeling very unproductive, so it's like, don't have anything coming out, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that, before I go into today's episode, let me plug for one of our Write Pack Radio panelists who's not with us today because he's ill at home, and I'm glad he's not here because I don't want him to get us all sick, is Brad R. Cook. Brad is going to be at the St. Louis Science Center at the first Friday, otherwise known as Geek Night, the very first Friday in March, which I just forgot what date it is. Probably is March 6th. But he's going to be one of the main speakers, if not the main speaker, on steampunk.
It is March 4th.
March 4th. And I do know other panelists from Write Pack Radio at least will be in the audience. So come out, have a good time with Write Pack Radio.
Oh, I'm going to be speaking at the next meeting of Sisters in Crime, which is also on the 17th, get that. And we're having a little champagne party, and you guys are, of course, invited. And I'm going to talk about Buffalo Bill's Wild West Show, 52 railroad cars worth.
Okay,
Wow.
And, because this might be airing too late to actually do any good for people that want to come, you really need to get that posted on our Facebook page.
Right.
I will.
Now,
when I get home.
Just a sidebar. Knowing how I dress, normally, this is not a costume, people, this is me normally, like Fedora walks around usually wearing fedoras, I have a cowboy hat and I wear my duster. Well, I fit in, not just joking.
Absolutely, you fit in.
Considering Wild Bill. Okay, today we're going to do something a little different. This episode we're going to call this the Shark Tank. Or would they make it in today's publishing? We have chosen at random a bunch of books that we are going to actually read aloud the very first paragraph or first couple of lines, depending on how it starts off with dialogue. If we like the book, we're going to say who it's written by. If we don't like them, we're not going to tell you because we don't want to be mean. After all, as the saying goes, opinions are like what we sit on. Everybody's got one, and they all stink.
Now, David,
point blank.
would you explain why we're doing this?
Well, actually, let me finish leading up to this, and we'll go into this.
Okay.
We're doing the books we're going to read. The idea is, one, does the opening grab the reader?
Which is an absolutely crucial thing.
Exactly.
Many editors and agents will not read even past a couple of sentences. If they're not hooked, boy, howdy, bye-bye.
Yep. There's a lot of writers in the past, classic writers, that by today's standards, if they wrote the book as it's written and published, would not have been published. I mean, I give that because I could picture them changing it as modern time. We don't, unfortunately, our attention span and so forth have shrunk.
Our whole ideas about entertainment are very different. We don't need to leisurely climb up to anything. We want to be bang right there.
We want to be right in it. And number two, Missouri Writers Guild conference, which is going to be in April, I believe April 29th. I don't have a calendar in front of me. That's why I got the March date wrong. But April 29th, they're, as a part of their conference, they are actually doing a Shark Tank, like what we're going to do here to some degree, where the people are going to be able to pitch to a panel of agents, if I've read their email correctly. So that's kind of giving you a taste for that as well. So, who wants to start?
And
go ahead.
I'd like to say that all these books we're going to read from are actually have been published.
Yes.
And we're sitting here in a room full of books, and we just grabbed some.
Yes, randomly grabbed.
Semi-randomly.
Well, yeah, one that will be read from is not chosen randomly. I guess I'll go with the first one. Let's see if anybody
Demonstrate
recognizes it.
to us how we're doing this.
Yes, and then we'll go from
Now,
there.
in the Shark Tank Missouri Writers Guild, I'm guessing the actual author will be reading the first paragraph.
Yeah, yes, I'm assuming as well. Also, too, let's see if you can guess the book, the genre, and does it grab our interest, or your interest? This book is largely concerned with hobbits, and from its pages, a reader may discover much of their character and a little of their history. Further information will also be found in the selection from the Red Book of Westmarch that has already been published under the title of The Hobbit. The story was derived from earlier chapters of the Red Book, composed by Bilbo himself, the first hobbit to become famous in the world at large, and called by him there and back again, since they told of his journey into the East and his return. An adventure which later involved all of the hobbits in the great events of the age that are hero related. Obviously, if anybody can't guess who that is or what that book is, you're in trouble. But let's talk about that.
Cashing in on your past glory is what that sounded like. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
I would say that.
Actually, well, this sounded very long-winded as like, okay, when is it going to be over? That is very much in the style of traditional high fantasy, and it reminds me very much of 19th century writing.
Yep.
Today, I don't imagine any publisher publishing it.
Yeah, this would have been published. I know The Hobbit was, of course, published first and inspired. This was originally published 1955. So, yeah.
By today's standards, I think now with the movies and the popularity, of course people are grabbing it, rereading it, loving it. But if it was on today's standards and there wasn't the movies, I think a lot of it would fall to the side. Or if it wasn't schools doing, classical reading and... I
think a publisher now, or an agent now, would say, cut this out completely and get to the story.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very different style of storytelling, and this isn't what, unless you're independent press, and I'm not saying that there aren't readers that would love this, and readers do love Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There's a reason it's still around.
Yeah, it's a good book. I'm not saying that it isn't a good book, but let's just say if there was an abridged version, most of that would have been cut.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to say, go ahead.
I was just going to say that he is certainly reminding everybody of books that are already loved. And that is a good thing, but he sure does it in a long-winded way.
Actually, at the time this was first written, I'm not sure that was true.
That The Hobbit wasn't out?
No, it was out. The point is a lot of people would be picking up Lord of the Rings that hadn't read The Hobbit before. And I think this is more of the style of the storytelling. This is very much high fantasy. He's referring to a fictional book here.
And what's interesting is, note, even though I read the very first paragraph, guess what it is a part of? The prologue. Most agents nowadays, most publishers nowadays don't want a prologue. There's a whole debate about whether that prologue should be there or not, and in some cases prologues are coming back, but that gives you an example. Okay, that's obviously it's still a favorite book of mine, nevertheless. That is J.R.R. Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings itself. So with that,
Oh, and I will say, I do like The Lord of the Rings, but it took me forever to get into it.
I do agree with that too. It really did me as well. Let's start off with Fedora.
Take care of things when I'm gone. The earthquake began at 3:24 a.m. and ended 73 seconds later. By 4 in the morning, Gloria Mendez had determined that her apartment had suffered no serious casualties. There wasn't much to damage. In this, she differed from many of her single friends who had, without warning, begun accruing evidence of their solitude, framed photos of Mickey Mouse, eared nieces and nephews, a few too many leather miniskirts, mementos from 3 different ski trips with 2 different men, Siamese cats named the Fonz or John Bon Jovi, or after imaginary daughters, Alexis, Samantha, Claire. Items you could accumulate safely, content in the knowledge that there wasn't some crazed toddler out to scratch them, shatter them, choke on them, soak them in regurgitated formula and half-digested carrots.
Okay, now I'm going to say this off the bat. First I'm going to hit negative. I don't know what genre right off the bat it is. Mm-hmm. However, with that said, I don't know about anyone else here. I have got a complete picture of what universe this is, a story world, if you will, of what this is taking place in.
The time, I think, is pretty
Yeah.
obvious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there was all sorts of clues to the time period. The stories, there were a lot of interesting details. There's been an earthquake, but that seems kind of secondary to the story. I don't know what the story is going to be about, except it's about the single woman.
Yeah, it's about a single woman. And the earthquake, while it's short, seemed to have some level of devastation to it.
Just not where she was.
I want to say, like, right off the bat, it started to grab my attention, but then when it went into so much detail on the knickknacks and stuff, I started to drift away from, like, okay.
That's too much.
Too much right up
Too much
front.
description, okay.
Right up front. I think if you kind of put that description a little further down,
Now, again,
maybe.
I'm
or
not sure
get
what
something
genre
else.
this is, but depending on the genre, for instance, if this is a contemporary novel, not a genre novel per se, one of those literary ones, I can see this being the perfect opening because the whole novel is going to be like this.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I think it does a pretty good job of establishing a tone,
Very
which
much so.
clearly is not a light tone. We've got earthquakes, and even though she talks about Mickey Mouse, it's not in a lighthearted way. It's more in a determined, individualistic, single woman sort of way.
Yeah, I can see
And
this
also-
as a serious mystery, not one of those light, fluffy mysteries, but one of those,
Assuming it's
not mysteries. Yeah, I could also see this as a serious romance, as in there's some dark stuff in it too.
And also, too, that some of the word choices that were used, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought I heard regurgitated
Yes.
carrots
Yes.
and stuff. That's an interesting word choice, and depicts a complete picture. So, as you're saying, a little more dark, a little more gritty.
Yeah, it's not spitting up, it's regurgitated.
Yes.
So it's a little bit more intellectual.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about intellectual,
Well,
but definitely
no.
gritty.
Regurgitated is a higher level vocabulary word than spit up.
Okay, I'll go there. I will go there, yes, reading-wise.
And it has billed itself as crime fiction noir.
Perfect.
So the tone certainly speaks to that and says that.
It would
Whether
be-
I'd read the whole thing or not, I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
what would you-
I really don't know.
Being the
whether I
other
would or
mystery
not.
writer, what were your thoughts?
I don't know. It's. I think I would read more.
Now,
I think I'd read more
if
before
I-
I made a decision.
If I had read the back book jacket and liked that paragraph would probably kept me reading. If I didn't know anything about it, if the book jacket was missing, I'm not sure because I still don't know what the book is about. But almost all the time, you have the cover, you have the back book jacket before you've read the first paragraph.
Okay, so we got 4 people around the table. Thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs middle.
Thumbs
General, general thumbs up.
Okay, we got 2 thumbs up, 1 down, and 1 middled.
Yeah.
So what was the name of that book?
This is from Jesse Kellerman, someone that I have not heard of particularly, and it is called Sunstroke.
Excellent.
All right, want to put that one away?
All right. So, I know exactly when I died. It was 20 past 3 on the 14th of January of the year 1950, an afternoon of bright, unseasonable sunlight, with a whipping wind that scurried the white clouds through the blue sky above me and gave the Irish sea beyond me more than its normal share of white horses.
That's interesting. Good description. Right off the bat, we know the person's dead.
And you also know something about the genre because it's the genre where a dead person could be talking.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds
And-
like women's fiction to me.
I believe this is a period. It says... Everyone else?
Well,
What do you
actually,
think?
before we get
Women's
there,
fiction?
I don't know about women. Actually, I was going paranormal.
Yeah.
Along with that, we know the year automatically, and we know that it's over in Ireland, or at least when it talks about the Irish Sea, I'm assuming Ireland. You know, so I'd say that's a quick build up to the story world. Also, too, the opening. Would you read that again? Because that kind of caught me.
I know exactly when I died. It was 20 past 3
Stop.
on...
I know exactly when I died. That's kind of a okay. This might be interesting to me.
Yeah, it tells you right away it's probably paranormal.
It's a catchy first sentence. I'll certainly give them that.
Now, unless the person was brought back, like in the hospital, this is fantasy. Or science fiction. I guess they could have been brought back on a spaceship. But, you know, most
more
likely
like-
it's fantasy.
Most likely either fancy or paranormal, which that crosses a line. A question of were they a ghost, whatever. So tell us about this book.
Supposedly this is a romantic, I would say, kind of paranormal time period piece.
Okay.
It does mention romantic on here and lyrical. So
Well, lyrical is just writing style.
Yeah. So and it says a little bit, and it seems like it's going to be written from the first person point of view of the
Yep.
person who's dead.
Yeah.
So you got a bit of mystery in there too, because it seems like if
how
you
they
read
die.
the jacket, it says something about that. You know, it's her, and you know she's dead in her house. So, or actually in the garden. Of her
Actually,
house,
after that
so-
first paragraph, I didn't know it was a woman, but
Yeah. So yeah.
And this book is. Oh wait a minute! Before you do, once again, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. Yeah, I'd say it's an opening. We got 4 thumbs up.
It is Shade by Neil Jordan.
Okay.
And I will say that for one of us at this table, and I think if you were attentive listener, you can guess which one, paranormal isn't a style that they like. So that's impressive. It's 4 thumbs up.
Yeah.
I like paranormal, some of it, a little of it.
A
Minuscule amount
a
of
teaspoon,
it.
maybe.
Yeah.
Half a teaspoon. Okay.
Okay. Yeah, let me skip the... All right, here's the next one. And I'm not that good at sight reading, so... okay. The courtroom was armed and waiting. Assistant District Attorney Glenn Hopkins was making notes in his file and sipping a cup of coffee while the defense counsel, Harold Duke, glanced at his watch anxiously. 2 court clerks and a uniformed bailiff were staring straight ahead like statues. A probation officer, Anne Carlyle, an attractive woman with short blonde hair and classic features, had her head braced in her hand and intermittently glanced over at the well-built district attorney, waiting to catch his eye.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I kind of made her laugh there because I just started chuckling.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not the best at sight reading.
Okay.
Which means if you're actually doing this, practice reading out loud.
True.
Well, I'm gonna start off again. Once again, I think the we've got the genre. It clearly feels like it's a courtroom mystery. Could be a courtroom mystery romance. Definitely the way it was written. I'm sorry, I'm going to say it this way, but you can tell a female wrote it because of certain descriptions, and it doesn't mean necessarily that men write different. There's a difference between ways that they can do it. Men and women can be able to change how they write to imitate, but from the sound of it, it's coming across with a female voice to it. A little long-winded in certain parts, in my opinion, but I've got the idea of courtroom mystery, modern day. I didn't hear anything that could sound like it's past.
But I've got to say that I don't care because what we have here is scene setting. We don't have a grabber as far as I'm concerned.
Exactly. We do know we do know who one of the characters is, if not the main character.
Well, actually, we know who several of the characters are. There's a whole list of characters, one after the other by
right.
after.
That's true.
But
I'm talking about by
none of them grabbed me.
No, none of them did.
I mean, we got a good-looking guy, and we got a
Now, I will
girl
say, if you
and
go on
someone.
to the very second paragraph, it actually starts to get more interesting with dialogue and such.
Well, that's
so,
fine. We're looking at the first paragraph.
Yeah,
So.
but the point is, for me, this first paragraph was enough to get me to read the second paragraph, which was more of
Okay.
a grabber. But yeah, so it's just a matter of what do you count as your grabbing. That last one that Lee did, first sentence was the grabber. This one, you have to read half a page to be grabbed.
Right.
Yeah, and that's a...
It's a long
Unless
shot
you're
these
probably
days.
into the courtroom type crime novels, then you like that type of description.
Right.
That might keep you into it because you like
It's an
that
author
type.
you already know about, maybe.
Yeah.
But
Well,
those
and-
are extraneous factors, not the actual first paragraph.
But this one, the first paragraph does tell you a whole lot immediately what this book is probably going to be like,
I agree.
and it gives you an idea of the writing style right away. So, if I wanted to know, will I read this whole book or not, while it doesn't particularly grab me, it lets me know a lot about the book.
Well, the fact is, I would probably read on at least a little longer. I am not grabbed. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I am not grabbed at this point. But it's not something that's going to make me want to go, okay, I'm the next, and who's my next contestant for my time and attention? Not yet.
Yeah. And, let's see, I'm just reading the book jacket, and that's much more grabbing than the first paragraph. And frankly, again, if I read the book jacket, then the first paragraph would let me decide whether or not I want to buy this book.
Except that agents and editors don't read book jackets.
No.
Those get written later.
Well, they
Yes.
don't read book
You
jackets, but they do read cover letters, and your cover letter can have basically the information.
Well,
in the
your
book
cover,
jacket.
your cover letter, your cover pitch. Let's call it that. Let's call it. Your pitch ends up being a part of the cover jacket usually,
Yeah.
but which is why pitches are very important.
and
but-
it's why the agents and editors want the first 10 pages or the first 3 chapters
Exactly.
or some first bunch.
Right.
Yeah, I
And,
can write
they
great
don't
pitch
look at 'em
letters. It's
long.
just like, yeah.
So, other thoughts before we do a vote?
No.
Hey, we got 2 thumbs sideways and 2 thumbs down, so we're not going to mention what book this is.
Okay.
Okay. This one. This is being very dangerous for me to read. I'd always wanted to be like the heroes in my favorite stories, George Washington or Sir Galahad, maybe King Arthur, Robin Hood, or Robinson Crusoe. But I knew those lives belonged to great men, not young boys trapped in stuffy old offices in pretentious British preparatory schools. If I wanted an adventure, I'd have to make my own. I could not live vicariously through someone else's. Unfortunately, my opportunities for adventure were not only limited, they were non-existent.
Okay, yeah. I immediately know that, the main character is mixing people that really exist in the real world and fictional characters, and he's treating them the same way.
And fantasy.
Fantasy. And we've got a universe that's already built, because we know it's
Upper crusty.
upper crusty. Oh, so characters in upper crusty, we know the characters has to be young, from the sounds of it. And they're
yet
bored.
well educated,
And well educated, and yet they're bored.
which might go hand in hand, actually.
I'm into that.
Yeah, now, one thing, I'll admit, we all know what this book is. I'm trying to think if I would immediately, the style is reminiscent of high fantasy, which means, sorry, another word for that is also long-winded, but it was a very complex story structure, but there was more punch and action to it than, let's say, Tolkien or, let's say,
Yeah.
Jane Austen.
Yeah,
I
it
guess-
didn't feel as long-winded as
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
Tolkien's, and it you got a little bit more of the personality coming through of the character, so I think that helps grab a little bit more than where it seems like the third person is saying vaguely about the Hobbit, so you don't get that personal feeling.
I
to
will
it.
say the style is very reminiscent of the genre it's in, but if I didn't know that, If I wasn't a big fan of it, and I'm not,
Pretend you don't know.
I wouldn't necessarily I couldn't figure out what genre it was, and I wouldn't necessarily know if this person is younger and doesn't really know the difference between George Washington and Robin Hood, or if Robin Hood is a real person in this universe.
And in a way, I can't disagree with you because that's your opinions.
Yeah.
But what I got out of it right away from Pat was young person. I'm trying to pretend I have not read this book. A young person who longs for adventure. So I'm picturing adventure, not so much high fantasy necessarily, but adventure.
Yeah, I would get longing for adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. The reason why I said a little bit of fantasy is because of some of the characters they mention that the kid was thinking about. That made me think of
Robin Hood.
like fantasy. Mm-hmm. Not necessarily like magical fantasy, but still like in the fantasy realm of things. So,
or something which becomes legend, which is, I think, part of the idea of this entire.
Also get a little bit of the coming of age because of it being a young. Someone wanting to seek adventure. That
a young person longing for adventure is
the whole coming of age, type story. So,
so what are your thoughts? Let's do thumbs. Ready and wow, we got 2 thumbs up and 2 thumbs sideways, and I'm not going to identify who did which way, but that is from Right Pack Radio's own Brad R. Cook, the Iron Horseman. There's no word to.
I will say though, my kids, however, both read, and my son fought to read the book first over my daughter. So,
voila.
Yeah, he's in the
age
market.
group for it.
Yep.
So,
okay, next.
It was just after noon when the flickering lights began again, countless slivers of rainbow bathing the inside of his eyes. Taken by themselves, the lights might have been fascinating, even beautiful, but as things were, they brought him only terror. Noon. The last blast had been just 6 hours ago, waking him from a pleasant dream and dropping him into the midst of a nightmare. When the attacks first began, they came once every few weeks, then every few days, and now the intensity, too, seemed to be increasing with each episode. It was living hell.
Okay, that kind of annoyed me because I want to know for sure whether or not he's having seizures, and I can't quite tell from that first paragraph.
I think it was dark and gripping in a way because something very bad is happening. And it makes you want to know.
Yeah.
What is it that's happening? And then you're going to have to read on to find out.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would say it's building a pace that I would put with suspense. Being a page turner, you're starting off automatically ratcheting up the tension.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it bills itself as. It is suspense. A medical thriller, apparently. Though that surprised me. I thought it was going to be attacks from aliens or something.
Well, actually, and this might be because of what I've been watching lately, which is Foyle's War on Netflix, which is set during World War II, English home front, bunch of mysteries. So I was picturing a war thing.
No, see, I was picturing a guy that was getting epileptic seizures and was having flashes and lights before his eyes right before the lights went out, so to speak.
I guess it could even be that.
Yeah. So let's do the thumbs vote. Oh, we got 4 thumbs up. So which one is that?
This is from Michael Palmer, and it's called Critical Judgment.
Cool.
Okay, now
He also wrote Silent Treatment, if you might have read that.
Yep.
I'm curious. Was this let's see.
That's right. Let's go with our next one while you're reading.
Yeah.
Okay. What am I going to do is find a man. The speaker was Cassandra Belmont, the widow Lady Paget. She was standing at the sitting room window for the house she had rented on Portman Street in London. The house had come fully furnished, but the furnishings as well as the curtains and carpets had seen better days. They had probably seen better days even 10 years ago. It was a shabby, gentile place, well suited to Lady Paget's circumstances.
Genteel poverty.
Okay. Thoughts, everybody?
Sounds like a romance beginning to me.
It definitely does sound like a romance.
And British, of course, and perhaps some upper crust who's now fallen on hard times.
It sounds like a historical romance to
Definitely
me.
time period.
Mm-hmm.
Tension grabbing.
Not particularly.
No.
But those genres usually aren't for me.
Yeah, it does set up the story world. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
And
Kind
the
of
conflict.
Scene creating is what
Yes,
was
that's
said
what I was
earlier.
saying.
And romance is my genre. I love romance, but it didn't grab me. Yeah.
Okay.
Just
So-
says that she's poor now.
Yeah,
You know, which
yeah.
is not a grabber to me.
Yeah.
Well, she's
No.
poor, but maintaining
Try and maintain her lifestyle.
maintain standards.
Yeah, try and maintain her lifestyle.
And she's trying to find a man. I mean, that's the opening line. She's trying to find a man.
So I know what the
So-
book's about. I know what the genre is. If I was going for a book of that genre, I'd know that. Oh, this is one of the ones I might get.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
So-
I mean, maybe if you read the jacket and
I have a feeling I know how this vote's going to go, but let's take a look. Anyway, votes are 3 thumbs down, 1 thumb sideways. So we will not announce who this is.
so, even the romance.
Now, let me
person-
pause this for a second again and reiterate. These are our opinions.
And all these books have been published already.
Right, so somebody has liked them, they have published them, and opinions are like what we're sitting on, people. You know, everyone has one, they all stink. So moving on.
Okay. Chapter 1. My worst dreams have always contained images of brown water and fields of elephant grass and the downdraft of helicopter blades. I'm the wrong person to read this, by the way. The dreams are in color, but they contain no sound, not of drowned voices in the river or explosions under the hooches in the village we burned, or the thropping of the Jolly Green and the gunships coming low and flat across the canopy like insects pasted against a molten sun.
Okay.
I'm guessing this is a story set in Vietnam, or rather,
I'm not so much guessing that the
or
character...
rather, he was a Vietnam vet.
I'm guessing the character was a Vietnam vet who is still having flashback dreams.
Yeah, you're right.
That's where I would go with that one. That normally you don't start with dreams or dream sequences, but I would say that one gives me a good taste for who the character is. Doesn't tell me anything else. Doesn't tell me he could still be in Vietnam. He could be back in the States. He could have ran away. I don't have a sense of genre except for I know that he's a Vietnam vet. And this sounds like it was written by a man as far as the description. I'm trying to show that compared to the one I could tell it was written immediately by a woman, just to show the description differences. I'm sorry, I know I'm kind of digging myself in a grave, but it's one of the things, and I know I don't hate to say this, I love a lot of, actually most of the mysteries I've read, that I've really enjoyed the most, have been written by women, because I've noticed when women write, they're a lot more observant in their descriptions. And that's why I guess I'm catching on to this.
I agree with you that dreams are not generally a very good way to start anything. Maybe an odd chapter here, there, and yon, but it does seem so contrived that a lot of people don't cotton to it just right away, if at all. But the dreams here seem so vivid to me that I can kind of buy it. You know?
Yeah.
And I will say the dream sequence, the first paragraph, got me to at least glance through the first chapter, which, by the way, is only 2 pages long. And the first chapter, he makes a great analogy between Vietnam, and then he goes on to just compare it and contrast it to Katrina.
Okay.
So that
I would not have expected to see Hurricane
I
Katrina
was
coming.
surprised
Okay.
too. But between those two things, now through chapter 1,
Yeah.
I have a very clear idea of the setting of the story and of my character, of the main character rather. And okay,
Still sticking with just the first paragraph. I would probably read on beyond it.
Yeah.
At least to find out
Me too.
what's going
Yeah.
on.
yeah, I did.
Yeah,
she
clearly.
did. She, like,
Clearly you did. It succeeded with you without question. I still don't know what genre this is yet.
Yeah. After reading the
That's
first
opening.
chapter, I still don't know what the genre is for sure.
But I do know, at least I sense that the character could be a broken character.
Yeah.
Definitely, it's a Dave Rowe show. Anybody who knows James Lee Burke would recognize that name. And
Yep.
yes, he's broken, and yes, he's an investigator, and he has plenty of problems to solve of his own, in
So-
addition to the investigation.
We kind of did that in reverse. Let me do thumbs up, thumbs sideways, whatever. I'm going...
Yeah.
Okay, good. We got 4 thumbs up. We're safe. Yeah, I would definitely say that
Well, we still
That's
need the
the
book
word.
title, right?
Book title
She
is-
said
It
the
is
author.
The Tin Roof Blowdown. And
Okay.
again,
Which is a good title, too. I mean, Tin Roof Bowdown, if you've been to places in the South, you see a lot of tin roofs.
and it's set right after Hurricane Katrina.
And when the hurricane would certainly take a lot of those roofs off and slice apart whatever was in the way. I like the title a lot.
Okay, let's go with this next
I guess
one.
this is another way to start. You have to start with action, so he did a flashback action.
That's one way to do it.
Okay, our next one is when I came down off the Cap Rock riding a wind-broken bronc, half of New Mexico must have been trailing behind me, all ready to shake out a loop for a hanging. I can't pause there because I almost coughed. Sorry. Let me reread that just because I broke it in the wrong place. When I came down off the Cap Rock riding a wind-broken bronc, half of New Mexico must have been trailing behind me, all ready to shake out a loop for a hanging.
Wow.
Is that a western?
Oh, yeah.
That is a western. I will
Being
go with that.
chased by a posse with a rope ready. I mean, there is definitely into the middle of
Action.
the action.
Yep, I would say so. I immediately I'd go yes on this one. So thumbs up.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yep, it's definitely being told from a first person, and honestly, this is from a master storyteller, especially of westerns, Louis L'Amour.
Aha.
It is of his Sackett's series, Mustang Man.
The man knows how to start a book.
Yes, he does. Okay.
Okay.
Watch your step. Keep your wits about you. You will need them. This city I am bringing you to is vast and intricate, and you have not been here before. You may imagine from other stories you've read that you know it well, but those stories flattered you, welcoming you as a friend, treating you as if you belonged. The truth is that you are an alien from another time and place altogether.
Sounds like a fantasy.
I would go fantasy,
Fantasy for sure.
or paranormal. I'd go fantasy more likely. Fantasy or paranormal, but
It's
or something
mentioning
along those lines.
aliens, so maybe
Yeah.
it's sci-fi-ish. I don't
Or
know.
yeah.
I don't think. Well,
Or
I'm not sure it's fantasy. The tone more than anything to me says fantasy versus science fiction. Possibly paranormal, but even that I'm not sure about. It could be paranormal.
Read the very beginning, like the very
The first
sentence
sentence.
again.
The first sentence, watch your step, keep your wits about you. You will need them.
Which I find that an interesting opening.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially since that's the narrator talking, not a character.
Well, we don't know if that's a character or not.
Well, yeah, we know because there's no quotes.
Okay, let me rephrase that. We don't know. I'm saying I don't know if that's the narrator or if this is a first-person point of view.
Yeah, could be.
Well, I don't know just from that, but I will tell you from the inside jacket that it's set in not present times, but 1870s London.
So past tense. It's in the past. 1870s. Okay.
Yeah.
So it might be that he's that interfering writer who says, watch out, reader. Now, you must come with me gently back to 1870, and he leads us into that,
It really is.
imitating that kind of style.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a
possibly.
narrator that's talking. It's a second person book. It's talking directly to the reader,
Yeah.
which is an interesting style.
Yeah,
if you-
it's breaking down the fourth wall.
yeah.
And it uses a lot of second person, you do this, that, and the other, and then third, and some present tense, and some past, and it's really long. And that's about all I can say about it, I think.
Okay. Thoughts, everybody? Anybody else have any opinions?
I wouldn't keep reading, but I actually like the style okay. If I was more into it, if I was more invested in the story, I might keep reading, but just picking it up, I put it down again.
I think I would put it down just because it is 830 pages long, and that opening wasn't enough to propel me into 830 pages.
For me, the length of the book doesn't bother me. I mean, I've read Herman Wouk's Winds of War and War and Remembrance. Those are both well over 1,000 pages each. But he had written it in such a way, at least for me, I was devouring 100 pages a day in between everything else I was doing at the time.
Well, in
I
the
don't-
Winds of War, you're talking about war, 4 years of it or more,
Yeah.
and it has a lot of action, no matter
Yeah.
I would say it's kind of interesting, but it's not really got any action to really grab you still. It's like, maybe, but yeah, I would go.
It's kind of like kicking the pebbles to make the avalanche. Is why I'm going to go with that one. It's not dropping the big rock yet, where you can watch the big rock roll down and just knock everything out of the way. It's just, let's see if we can get the avalanche started. That's my thoughts. Okay, we've got 2 sideways and 2 thumbs down.
Okay.
So, excellent. Moving on.
Fair Harrison, doctor of veterinary medicine, and his wife, Mary Minor Harrison, loved to steal a Saturday and cruise the back roads of Central Virginia. It reminded him of their country days back in high school when Fair, bruised from Friday night football games, would pick up Harry, dirty from the stable, and they'd drive around in his 1958 Chevy pickup. Now, over 2 decades later, Fair was at the wheel of their station wagon, Harry beside him, the pet in the back seat, and they rode through the countryside.
It's not speaking to me.
I'm going to be honest.
It's another scene setter.
The scene setter made me drift a little bit. I found my attention drifting just enough. I might read onward. Don't get me wrong when I'm saying that. It's just I drifted.
From that paragraph, I cannot tell what genre it is yet. It's other than it seems modern day, possibly. It doesn't sound like it's time period.
Sounds like the veterinarians are the main characters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard the word pet, but
other than that, you don't. You can't get what the genre is. You can't get the gist of what the story is yet, and
just kind of ordinary.
There's no
ordinary life.
Yeah, there's
Kids
nothing
in the back
grabbing really.
Yeah. Okay, let's do the thumbs vote.
Yeah.
We got 3 down, 1 sideways. Okay, so next one. Go ahead.
Okay. Everyone is born with some special talent, and Eliza Summers discovered early on that she had 2, a good sense of smell and a good memory. She used the first to earn a living and the second to recall her life, if not in precise detail, at least with the astrologer's poetic vagueness. The things we forget may as well never have happened, but she had many memories, both real and illusionary, and that was like living twice. She used to tell her faithful friend, the sage Tao Chien, that her memory was like the hold of a ship where they had come to know one another, vast and somber, bursting with boxes, barrels, and sacks in which the events of her life were jammed. Awake, it was difficult to find anything in that chaotic clutter, but asleep she could, just as Mama Freesia had taught her in the gentle nights of her childhood, when the contours of reality were faint as tapestry of pale ink. She entered the palace of her dreams along a much-traveled path and returned, treading very carefully in order not to shatter the tedious visions against the harsh light of consciousness. She put as much store in that process as the others put in numbers, and she was so refined, the art of remembering, that she could see Miss Ross bent over the crate Marla something soap that was her first cradle.
Okay.
That was one paragraph. It really was.
Thank you. I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask you if you just got caught up or what.
That sort of screams women's fiction, doesn't it?
I don't think she got caught up because it seemed like she was struggling to keep going.
Yeah, no,
It's like, this is the end. Nope, this is the end.
And
I
yet
will-
the
go ahead.
image of the ship's cargo hold and your memories being in crates and boxes that you don't even know what's in them, but suddenly when you're asleep you do. I found that fascinating enough that I think I might go on.
I was thinking I'd probably go on with it. It was a little long-winded on the opening paragraph. However, we have a great image of the main character.
Mm-hmm.
We know who that person is right off the bat. And we've got a little scene description coming up, too. We get a sense of timing.
Yeah, it's very lyrical.
Yeah.
And I know very well, it's like, if this book isn't like women's literary fiction, I would be shocked right after reading that. Because this is women's literary fiction, which isn't a genre I love, by the way, but it seems like a good example of that.
So, thumb vote?
Oh.
Okay, we got 3 ups and 1 sideways.
Okay, and this was a bestseller because it was a member of Oprah's book club.
I like how you connected those two. Go ahead.
Okay, this is Daughter of Fortune by Isabel
Allende,
Allende.
who's quite famous,
Yes.
and wrote Juliet of the Spirits, and a number of
And
things have been turned into movies and were best-selling books also.
Mm-hmm.
And this, of course, is a translation, I believe,
Yes.
though she does write her own stuff in English now,
Yeah, she
too.
does write. Yeah, she's from
But
South
this, I
America.
think, is
I want.
probably a translation.
I don't want to say which nation down there because I don't want to screw it
Why
up.
don't you read it?
She wrote Zorro, actually, which is a prequel to the Zorro stories as we know, that I found absolutely fascinating. And I'm a Zorro fan.
A different one than the 1940s one, surely.
Yeah.
She's not that old.
Oh, and
No. But she wrote a prequel to
A
it.
prequel, okay.
Yeah.
and she's from Chile, by the way.
Chile,
There
thank
we
you.
go.
Yeah, I found that out from the back book jacket.
I was gonna say I knew Chile or Peru, and I couldn't do which, and I wasn't going to be.
And she currently lives in California.
Yep.
So she might be writing in English now.
Yep.
And doing
She does.
screenplays.
Yeah. Okay. So comes our next one. This is I make sure I try and pronounce this name correctly. Nikki Crevence. Please don't hold me to the name. Okay, guys. Nikki Crevence smiled to himself at 2 Wall Street boys pressed past him. Let me read. I'm sorry, I've reread that. I'm also bad at sight reading. Nikki Crevence smiled to himself as 2 Wall Street boys pressed past him. One reporting excitedly to the other that Apple stock was up 6% with the release of the company's new iPhone. He could tell from their tone that the good news for the market meant a hefty check for the duo. Unlike the last one, it's at least short, to the point. I know the time period. I know the world setting.
But money just doesn't turn me on.
And
No.
I don't
Price
get
of
anything
Apple
from the genre,
stock.
though.
Well,
They're
it's
just-
about the business world, maybe stock market. It's not the type of book I would pick up to read, so I'm not sure. I'm wondering if this is just a genre I don't read, so I don't recognize it.
Maybe. I don't know. It didn't really grab my attention.
Yeah.
It didn't grab mine either.
What's the genre?
That's what I'm checking on, and I am guessing based on some of the stuff written on the jacket that it is mystery. The story is supposed to be about a magazine journalist whose name I'm going to leave out because I don't know how we're voting yet. Magazine journalist blank is chasing the largest urban folktale, the story of an unidentified woman who heroically pulled a teenage boy from the subway tracks seconds before the arrival of an oncoming train.
Now, see, that part sounds
Mystery.
interesting, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
But
get.
Why didn't they start with that?
I don't know.
yeah.
So yeah, instead they're talking about the stocks. Where the story starts, I don't know if I'd continue. I might at least give it one more paragraph, but I wasn't
With
much
reading
for
the
it.
jacket. With reading the
With
jacket.
reading the jacket, I'm more interested.
But without reading the jacket, it's just.
Maybe
like-
it's one of those building, maybe the character is like get sick with her old life and now getting into this new thing.
Yeah, it could be.
And maybe it's important to the story.
Maybe.
Yeah, we don't know.
But
Yeah. Didn't grab me.
Okay. Four thumbs down. Okay, next one.
Okay.
No.
Philip Cass nudged the Japanese 4WD out from behind the sightseeing bus wheezing up the road and slid carefully past it. The road dropped away to his left into the smeared, scented darkness of pines. Pines loomed above, too, marching down the twisting, dusty track, wriggling tiredly up to Gulmarg. The bus, its asthmatic engine belching exhaust fumes, disappeared from the mirror as he rounded a twist of the road. Nanga Parbat, for a moment, hunched to the north, snow-peaked. The Kashmir Valley's orchard and rice fields in the haze of late summer spread out to his left, then behind him as the road climbed and twisted again.
Okay.
Well, it's a setting.
Great Great setting description. Good setting up. The road dropping off, the side dropping off, could be a little suspenseful, but I'm not sure if I'm suspended yet. It's like, okay, I've got an image.
I thought there were just sort of too many adjectives for a first paragraph.
I'm not going to disagree with you.
They've got hazy and dusty and smeared and scented and wriggling and
He's trying to set you in the moment.
Yes.
But I don't want to be in the moment unless I like the moment or find it interesting at least.
It doesn't seem interesting yet. And from that, I couldn't tell what type of genre it was either.
Yeah, it could be a story. For instance, it could be a story of an aid worker in this. I'm not even sure about the time period. I mean, it's after Cars, of course, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure what a Japanese 4WD was. I'm assuming four-wheel drive, which if that's the case is probably more modern. But that's a guesstimate.
It's apparently a spy novel.
Okay.
Didn't get that.
Well,
Might be a good...
Might be too early to set it up first.
If I knew it was a spy novel with that first paragraph, I'd probably read the second paragraph.
Yep. Votes. Okay, we got 2 down, 2 sideways. So, math going aside. And my fear, of course, is probably somebody's listening to this, listening to our thing and Googling
The first
paragraphs. Hopefully not, but we'll see. Okay, moving on. Next one. And we've only got, just to let everybody know, we've only got 9 more minutes to the episode, so let's just do one more for each of us, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
And the sun wasn't up yet when I rounded the bend in the river and came upon 50-foot Hatterns, Mykonans, I'm not sure if I said that right, the yacht that belonged to the ex-husband of my ex-best friend, idling in front of the Andrews Avenue Bridge. The sky was a pale, washed-out blue, cloudless, promising a warmer day once the sun rose. But at the hour the morning was cold enough, the wisps of the steam rose off the surface of the dark river. Nicholas Pontus, the ex-husband himself, was upon the motor yacht's flybridge. He was alone, which surprised me, because now that he was a gazillionaire, I don't think he ever did anything for or by himself. I pulled the hood of my sweatshirt up over my ponytail to drive off the chill that suddenly danced along the back of my neck.
Yeah.
Sounds like she's in a life of transition. She has an ex-best friend, and the ex-best friend has an ex-husband.
So she has an ex-husband that seems to be with her ex-best friend.
So... See, I would need to reread that. So, okay, I guess complicated sentence structure.
And he's very rich.
Yeah.
And I mean, it sounds
almost
bitterness.
Sounds like he won the lottery or came into money suddenly.
Yes. I'm assuming after her, because it seems like...
or maybe at the same time, and that precipitated the divorce. So
possibly.
I guess that captured interest.
Anyway, it's a fairly complicated life she has there to try to sort out.
And you know that right away, first paragraph.
Yeah.
And you know the setting,
The water.
The water,
So
she's
we got
at the
setting
thing in
and
the
setting
yacht.
and character described.
So.
And it could be a mystery. It could be a romance.
Mm-hmm.
So don't know the genre.
You have a setup for a conflict.
Oh,
there
yeah.
Because
big
you
time.
have the ex-husband and the ex-best friend.
And she's not separated from their life. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
Don't know how involved she is.
So.
Yeah. Okay, thumb vote?
Yeah.
We've got 3 up and 1 sideways, so go ahead.
It is called Bitter End by Christine Kling, and it is a suspense novel.
Okay.
Yeah, a bitter end is not a romance.
Go ahead.
Okay, prologue. In my dream, I'm alone in my bedroom. The window is open and there's a breeze, gentle but ominous, cool but foreboding. I'm dressed in nothing but a sheer full-length nightgown, white, always white, with a dangerously provocative decolletage.
Decolletage.
Thank you. I can't say that. My neck entirely exposed. I feel shivers coursing down my spine and goose flesh on my arms. At first I think it must be the wind, but then I realize there's something more, something lurking just outside my window. All I can see is a billowing fog, insubstantial, shapeless shadow that cross my windowsill and enter of their own accord. I am terrified, but at the same time exhilarated by my intense desire to know what will happen next. That, to me, sounds like this could be a horror.
Well, it's definitely got a suspense element to it, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And, okay, if this isn't paranormal, this is trying to address that theme by putting this in a dream sequence.
Yeah, and the fog almost having like
Well,
a
and the
character.
exposed neck is very suggestive of vampires.
That's what I was thinking of. I was waiting for a vampire to come in and bite.
It's too bad it's too bad we don't have video of this. It was really fun to watch Lee play at her neck. It's here's a vampire.
And Lee's second paragraph, it goes on.
Okay.
There's something that could be a vampire then.
Okay.
But,
We'll hold it first. Thoughts?
Once again, I'm not that fond of dream sequences, but I think this one works pretty well.
Yeah.
And I think I'd read at least the rest of the page.
Yeah.
I would too.
yeah,
I would
and
too.
by the way, this is not a paranormal. This is, it is suspense. But this dream sequence is to apparently get that feeling because I don't think there are any vampires in this. Or
I wouldn't think so by just the title and the jacket.
But we haven't told you yet,
yeah.
so let's do our thumb vote before we go. We got 4 thumbs up. Okay, now you can.
Okay, this is William Benthart, Capital Murder.
And I think there probably are plenty of vampires in the Capitol.
Yes, all of them are elected. But anyway,
I have a question for Dave. You just read that. I shouldn't have told you the title, but you had probably read it anyway. Does that sound male or female to you?
that was male.
Okay. I was thinking, maybe we should dissect this feeling of male to femaleness because I'd be interested to know what little details pointed it out as male.
Read P.D. James. That's all I'm going to say. Read her articles on writing and so forth. She explains it extremely well.
Okay.
Especially when she talked about one series she started writing, which was the unsuitable. First book in the series was called "An Unsuitable Job for a Woman," which is actually a book about a female PI who proves that a female PI can do the job.
Yeah.
So anyway, I am going to. This is last round for us. This next one, I am finding a little difficult to identify where the paragraph ends. And I'm going to try to read this, and then I'll explain why I said that when afterwards. And I think everybody here is going to know what genre this is off the bat. Kirk knew it was over. In Yosemite, the rocky face of El Capitan blurring past him. On the Enterprise B, the bulkhead of a deflector room ripped away by the unfathomable power of a nexus, pulling him into space. On Viridian 3, plunging downward, twisting in a tangle of torn metal as Picard defeated Tolan Soran. And on the Borg homeworld, the two captains of the Enterprise, Kirk and Picard, each ready to throw the switch that shut off all power to the collective central node. The power feedback would be immediate. Whoever threw that switch would die.
Okay. I know what the genre is.
Yeah.
It's very much right in the middle of the action.
Yep, very much is.
Good last line to the paragraph.
I agree.
Because it's an either-or kind of thing and no escape, apparently.
Yeah, that's interesting. I, of course, know all the background of this, so I'm trying to put myself in I'm a science fiction genre fan, but have never heard of this universe called Star Wars. So,
What? Universe?
Yeah, exactly.
No. What universe did you just call it?
Oh, oops. That was a miss. Okay, I misspoke.
I want your
sorry.
geek card, and we're going to tear a corner off. Star Trek.
It's yes.
I love both, but anyway.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, actually, let's just pretend that I know about Star Wars, but not Star Trek. Let's see if this is a brand new thing. And it's like, okay, I know the Borg are some bad aliens, and it mentions a node, but I wouldn't necessarily know that they're a whole cyborg race thing. But yeah, that's definitely enough to get me interested.
Okay.
That's something about genre books, especially genre series. It's very, if you've already read previous books in the universe, like, would you actually understand this coming in blind?
Yeah.
And the answer is the only way to know that is to give it to a lot of people that are both fans of the genre, but don't know about your universe.
But we're just like for catching, as far as it being catchy, it's right in the middle of the action, and it doesn't matter if you really know what Borgs are yet, because that's going to be explained to you later. Right now, it's just caught you in, and this is the action that's happening.
And it's like who's going to live and who's going to die, and you don't know.
All right. So let's do the thumbs real fast. Yeah. Well, surprisingly, this got 4 thumbs up, even though I'm hesitant to give it a thumbs up. I'll explain why. It has nothing to do with how I read it. It has everything to do with how it was written. I'll show the panelists here in just a second, and I'll explain it to you, the listener. This is a Star Trek novel. It is called Avenger, and it was written by William Shatner. It was written in a prologue, and I want to show you. This is what I consider to be the first paragraph. It was all the way down to here. How this actually is written, it starts off with, Kirk knew it was over, ... next line. So it's not even continued on the same line. ... In Yosemite, the rocky face of El Capitan blurring past Kim. I'm sorry, I'm reading upside down and backwards. Him, ... next line, ... on Enterprise B. Now, I don't know how if I was writing this, how I would approach it differently, because I get what they're doing, but just aesthetically looking at it and getting ready to read it and thinking, what's my first paragraph? I wasn't
Formatting,
clear.
the formatting's...
Okay.
Yeah.
I will explain what this is. Namely, this is another dream sequence.
Or flashbacks, yeah,
well,
definitely.
it's a series of flashbacks that are connected together, and I read this like over a decade ago, so if I'm remembering right, and I could be making something up, created memory, this was, this is from Kirk's point of view, and he is having these random thoughts as the Borg are bringing him back to life.
Right.
Okay.
It also gives you some nice white space, and that's always good.
Yes, that
More
is
white
good.
space.
Now that's a good point. White space is important. The
It is.
importance of formatting. Have we ever done that
Right.
episode?
I don't think we have.
We will.
Let's go ahead and
We have
do
to.
our last 3 books.
Ever since the family doctor, during a routine checkup, discovered an abnormality on his EKG, and he went in overnight for the coronary catheterization that revealed the dimensions of the disease, Henry's condition had been successfully treated with drugs, enabling him to work and to carry on his life at home exactly as before. He didn't even complain of chest pain or of the breathlessness that his doctor might well have expected to find in a patient with advanced arterial obstruction. He was asymptomatic before the routine examination that revealed the abnormality and remained that way during the year before he decided on surgery. Without symptoms, but for a single terrible side effect from the very medication that stabilized his condition and substantially reduced the risk of a heart attack.
Okay.
Okay, it's medical.
Well, actually, I'm not so sure. It sounds like it should be a medical thriller, but I have this feeling that that's just a setup for the actual story.
Yeah. We know the character. I
Yes.
got a feel for the character. The character is in a weakened state, lack of a better way of
He
saying
wants his
that.
life back.
Yeah. I might be interested enough to read on.
I would probably at least give the first chapter or whatever a try and see.
Well,
I
you'd be
would think.
giving regardless of the thumbs up situation here, you'd be giving a rather famous writer a thumbs up if you were, because it was Philip Roth, who is known for comedy, actually, for Goodbye,
Wow.
Goodbye Columbus and Portnoy's Complaint. He shows the Jewish condition in humorous terms, and that's his claim to fame. And I'd be hoping that this was in that same mode.
I wouldn't get comedy from
Yeah,
that.
I wouldn't have either, but
knowing its track record, I would hope.
Now, see, for me, I would get, there's this guy going in for possibly life-ending surgery for a condition that he wouldn't actually, this is the irony, that he feels fine. And it's the medicine that's making him sick, and this surgery that might kill him is what he's hoping to do to stay alive.
Right.
And this is a nice setup of, what the character's dilemma is. Mm-hmm. So that's good.
So anyway, quick thumbs up, even though we know everything now. Okay, we do have 3 thumbs up and 1 sideways.
Yeah.
And let's see, our last 2.
Okay. Wally Mahoney, a big suit with the Bureau, had invited me to a cards doubleheader against the Bums. I told him I wouldn't be able to stay for both games because I had a late afternoon appointment back in my office. I was mildly disappointed too because Howdy Pilot was pitching the second 9 and I knew Pilot would throw a good game against the Brooklyn Club, even though Ferrulo and Snyder were hitting over 300 against the Cardinal pitching. And I probably butchered some names there, so.
That's all right.
I wonder if that's a baseball novel, because that's all I got from that.
I get a sense of noir from it, but not.
I got a sense of gambling because of talking about
Mm-hmm.
cards and stuff, but
If you were a baseball fan, maybe. I'm personally not at all.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thumb vote. Okay, 4 down. Oh no, 3 down, 1 side.
No,
four,
that was-
4 down. So we won't mention it. Okay. And the final.
Okay. Claire. It's hard being left behind. I wait for Henry, not knowing where he is, wondering if he's okay. It's hard to be the one who stays. Short, sweet. And there's a lot of other short little paragraphs after that.
I don't think that gave me enough to know anything, but
Okay, actually, let me read a little bit further.
Yeah.
I keep myself busy. Time goes faster that way. I go to sleep alone. I wake up alone. I take walks. I work until I'm tired. I watch the wind play with the trash that's been under the snow all winter. Everything seems simple until you think about it. Why is love intensified by absence? And I will say, just because it's not obvious, this is clearly from 2 points of view. That was all from Claire's point of view, and halfway down the page you see, before you even read, that the next part is from Henry's point of view.
Okay.
So,
I cannot get my mind around present tense. I just refuse to read it. It puts my teeth on edge. I'm sorry.
I can't.
I won't
disagree.
even vote on this one.
I can't disagree because I've read where, and I've talked about this on previous Right Back radio episodes. I've run into that, and it's just like it takes me a while to get into it because it jars me.
I
It's
have no
just
problem with the present tense part.
I just don't think it seemed that interesting.
I wasn't
Yeah.
caught. I wasn't captured.
Now, knowing... Okay. First off, I will say, since we're probably not going to mention it, this is a best-selling book.
Okay.
And this is a book I've tried to read a couple of times and never succeeded. So that should also tell you something else.
Well, my response to that is when I grew up in the public school system, back and forth between public and private, in Kirkwood, the books that they chose for us to read were technically bestsellers. One of those bestsellers, and it's not Steinbeck, I'm not picking on the guy this time, would put me to sleep after a paragraph. And it was very hard for me to read, though it should have been right up my genre. So,
Yeah. Well, I will say that this book, it does have nice little... Well, no, it doesn't. The first chapter has nice little short sentences and a good amount of white space. And I would keep reading just because it looks like an easy read. And I like this style. But you're right. I have no idea this book involves... Let's just say science fiction. I was about to
Okay.
say something. It was... Well, this is a bestseller. This book involves time travel.
okay, we'll just stop there.
Yeah.
But
let's
I
do
have no
thumbs.
idea.
Thumbs. It might be a bestseller, but it did get 4 thumbs down.
Yeah.
And with that, everyone, I hope that hope my audience, you all got oh God, wow, there goes the Missouri accent. You have got an idea, whether or not you agreed with us or not. Hopefully, you got a sense of how important the first opening paragraph is, and what really where the agents and the publishers look at, as well as a lot of your fans might look at to decide, do I want to read this book or not? So with that, tune in next week for another interesting topic in the writing industry, and have a great week writing. The new theme songs for Right Pack Radio were written and performed by Meredith Tate. All copyrights remain with her. Right Pack Radio would like to thank STL Books for allowing us to record in their office. STL Books is an online bookstore specializing in new and used high-quality literature, children's books, and books written by or about St. Louis. Please visit them online at www.stlbooks.com or find their store on the Amazon.com website.